I'll really tell you that growing up in Crown Heights, I learned next door, obviously, in 770. And this is always the runaway place. Whenever we got too busy and you had to have a hideout to come learn, you came here. But you always heard that people learned here. And when I read the internet site to see that Rabbi Hecht became a Rosh Kollel, I became jealous. You know, it says, Bakoil Miskanim, you're jealous. The nature of the Chazal tell us you become jealous from everybody. It's the nature of a person. You get jealous from everybody. Chutz mibnoi. Besides, you know, everybody's happy that his child, his children should become richer or smarter. And hey, Shalom Aleichem. And there's certain people you don't care that they outsmart you. But I was jealous to hear Rabbi Yitzchok Hecht, Rosh Kollel. I decided, you know, let me give it a shot. Anyways,
Come again.
All right. So then he tells me that he's learning Hilchas Kiddush. First of all, let me give a plug. Chazal tell us, you say it every day in davening, Kol Hashem halachas b'chol yoyim muftach lo yishu ben ha'olam haba. Anybody who learns halachas b'chol yoyim, you're not doing this yet b'chol yoyim, but you are guaranteed to have a place b'olam haba. This is not a typical Lashon Chazal. Usually it says, Yesh lo chelek lo'olam haba. This is muftach lo yishu ben ha'olam haba. Muftach lo, you're guaranteed. You're ben olam haba. It's a good business. Shenemar, huh? What? Now you're testing me. If you look in the Ein Yaakov, you'll see that in the Pirush of the Ein Yaakov, they say you have to learn 100 halachas a day. 100 halachas a day. Al tikrei alichos ela halachas. But the pshat in the pasuk, the pshat in the Gemara is from the Yeshiva Machon L'Horah is halichos olam loy. That when you learn halachas, you govern halichos olam. By learning halachas, you're in control of the way of the world. So if you're sitting here and you might be reading the papers, I know the Hechts are very into the politics, and they might think lahavdil Clinton and Trump. It's not Clinton and Trump. It's lahavdil Hilchas Shabbos and Hilchas Kiddush. That's what's making the world. It's not Clinton and Trump. Just remember that, okay? So let's learn Hilchas Shabbos. The last thing Rabbi Hecht was talking about, if I remember correct, was Hilchas Kiddush. So if I could ask you to train yourself, every time you open up the Alter Rebbe Siddur, is to make sure, and Pesach is coming up, there's a statement that the Rebbe writes in the Haggadah. The Rebbe says that every time before you do something in the night of the Seder, always look inside the Haggadah to see what's the next move. And he brings from the Ma'aril that there is nothing that takes place in the night of the Seder that has no rhyme, no reason. Everything is important. Everything has to be looked at, read through, tried to be understood. Everything has a meaning. Now, I'm going to quote to you. I don't have a siddur in front of me. If you're going to help me find a siddur, I'm going to quote to you two statements. I don't know if they put it in the English siddur. Two statements that the Alter Rebbe writes in the siddur. That seems to be no big deal, but this is what I do for a living, and I try to investigate what the Alter Rebbe means when he writes these things in the Siddurim. I need to have again the old-fashioned siddur. Right when the person comes home from shul Friday night, the Alter Rebbe says these words. Over here you don't have it. I'm all a Torah boy, so I don't speak it. I don't speak this English. I don't know if they translated it even right. I don't know if it has it there. Coming home, you finished Ma'ariv, you danced, you did all the good things. This is the words the Alter Rebbe says. Kishabami beis haknesses lebeisai yoyim arzeh. When you come home from shul, after davening Ma'ariv, you should say this. And what's this? Shalom Aleichem Malachi Asharis. No big deal, right? Now, I can't swear to you that these are the words of the Alter Rebbe, because you should be very aware that there are different shapes of letters. Some of them are from the Alter Rebbe Siddur, some of them are Rashi letters. There's a lot what's going on. But it's something that you should learn to investigate, because I'll give you an example. What happens when you come home from shul and the table is not set? Which actually the Gemara says the table should be set because the Malachim come home with you. And should the Shalom Aleichem be said right away, or should the Shalom Aleichem part of Kiddush? For example, there is a big machlokes haposkim if Shalom Aleichem should be, if Kiddush should be standing, if Kiddush should be sitting, it's been Suda, or the way you. It's all one big chain reaction. When the Malachim come home, they want with you from shul. They want to see a happy home. They want to see a Shabbos sticker home. So they're walking home. The Gemara says they're walking home with you from shul, so, and they want to see the table set. So the Alter Rebbe is quoting. I'm not sure this is the word from the Alter Rebbe. He says, "K'shabami basic knesses lebeisoi, yoymar zeh." Say that right when you come home. So it seems to apply. You say that then, and the Malach hopefully sees everything is fine. You say the Shalom Aleichem, and then if you're ready to make Kiddush, fine. If not, not. Why am I saying that? Because the same thing you find after Shabbos. After Shabbos, you find a very funny thing. You find after Havdalah, the Alter Rebbe says the whole nusach of Havdalah. Baruch Atah Hashem, Hamavdil ben Kodesh L'Chol. Over here in 770, we have that great chazan, yeah? So right over there it says, Achar Havdalah Oimrim V'Yiten L'Chol. Why does he write that? Why does he write that? So I once heard, Rabbi Yaroslavsky once told me, that Achar Havdalah Oimrim V'Yiten L'Chol. Why? Because the Alter Rebbe wants you right after Havdalah to stand up and say V'Yiten L'Chol. And I never understood why does he care that you make a hefsek? Until a couple of weeks ago, I never understood why. What was this hefsek? What's the big deal? So, as Rabbi Hecht mentioned, we have a policy in our program that you have to learn the whole Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. And Ephraim got better get used to this, because in our smicha program you have to learn the whole Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. So in Hilchos Megillah, I came across a din in Kitzur Shulchan Aruch that says like this. It says, if Purim fell out on Sunday, listen to a funny din. If Purim fell out on Sunday, then this would be the order of Motzei Shabbos. Motzei Shabbos, you would say, you daven Ma'ariv. I'm cutting around, yeah? You would say Dav Ma'ariv, you'd say Kaddish Shalom B'Leitis Kad. If in Motzei Shabbos you'd say V'Inoyam. Listen, Ata Kaddish Shalom B'Leitis Kabel, V'Yiten L'cha, U'Mavdilin Ala Kois Aleinu. Plain old-fashioned Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. There is a whole shita of Paiskim that hold that V'Yiten L'cha is actually said before Havdalah. So the Alter Rebbe says, yeah, you know about that? Okay, you do. So the Alter Rebbe is saying, not necessarily, like Rabbi Wilhelm was saying, that it should be said right after Havdalah. Not the thing is, he said that in the Rebbe Rashab's house, they were makbid, it should be said right after Havdalah. It's more the deal that not koydem Havdalah, achar Havdalah. Okay, anyway, that's a side note. Let's get to Kiddush. All right, so last time you were talking about Rav Kois, Revius, etc., etc. And this week, it's Chodesh Adar. Chodesh Adar, Mishenichnas Adar Mardim V'Simcha. How can you connect Kiddush with Simcha? It's very obvious, right? Because it's yayin, it's you drink. But there is another remez connecting Adar with Simcha. because there is a clear din in Shulchan Aruch. The Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch Siman Reish Ayin Aleph Sif Yud Ches. The Alter Rebbe says like this: Koi shel Kiddush, Bein shel Laila, Bein shel Yoin, Bein shel Avdallah, Toron Kol Hadvarim Shem Toron Koi shel Birchas Hamazon. All the halachas that you're going to learn in Hilchos Birchas Hamazon, that when you make a bracha, the kais, there are certain halachas that apply to that kais. All those halachas that apply to that kais apply to the kais shel Birchas Hamazon.
Apply to the case of Kiddush.
Apply to the kais of Kiddush. Whatever applies in kais shel Birchas Hamazon, which you learn in Shulchan Aruch Chelik Aleph, will apply in the kais shel Kiddush. For example, Sheyeh Shalom, the becher has to be a complete becher. V'sheyishtefenu mibachutz, and it has to be washed from the outside. Incidentally, I want to tell you that Achronim writes, it brings from the Tosefta from Rabbi Yoina, which is a big chiddush, that if you have a clean house, that your wife washes the dishes and she washes the becher and she puts it away. It's funny because you don't see, and after Shabbos she puts the becher away nicely in the wherever, in the cabinet. If it's very, very clean, you don't necessarily have to do it again. But l'payah, you see people are machmer. Yishtafenu b'bachutz, v'yedechenu b'befnim, if to rinse it on the inside. V'yemali yayin al kol gedoysov, it has to be complete wine. There's actually a machlekes, the Taz says it doesn't, to make it pour over is actually a baltashchis, but we are makbid, so gissen von aval zayten. V'lo yayin pogum, and make sure the wine is not pogum. V'yikablenu b'shtei yodov, and you pick up the wine to show that the mitzvah is chaviv, you pick it up with two hands. V'yichazyanu b'yaminei levada, and you pick up the kiddush with your right hand. V'yigbanu ma'al shulchan tefach. By the way, the Shulchan Aruch says you pick it up from the table of tefach. Our minig is to pick it up 3 tefachim, which is also a kiddush, because the Shulchan Aruch says tefach. The Zohar says azeres. So how does it get to him? The Shulchan Aruch says a tefach. Why do we do 3 tefachim? It's because it says in Zohar azeres, and somewhere it's mashma that azeres is 3 is what? Azeres is a half of 6 tefachim in a Mishnah somewhere. So the Rebbe has a limud like that. The yitin ein of boy, and you look in the wine, shelo yasiach daitim b'menu. Anyway, so back.
Of the wine of the cost. That's à la coste pour la gueule.
Ah?
Admoazaken de siman pegimel à la coste pour la gueule.
Ma?
The yitin ein of bo, c'est à la coste pour la gueule.
No. Okay, fine. Okay, so I want to talk about a couple of things. First of all, not everybody says that all the dinim, literally all asar dvarim. By the way, if you look in the Hilchos Birchas Hamazon, when you talk about the asar dvarim, hatu'unim al kos Birchas Hamazon, over there it mentioned 10 things. For example, one of the things I mentioned is ituf. Ituf is a machlekes what it actually means. Ituf could either mean you beautify the cup itself, you make the cup look nice. Some actually learn shot that you wear a talus. You would actually get dressed, either a talus or put on the jacket, when you make Birchas Hamazon. And it doesn't apply, not
Birchas Hamazon, you said?
Yeah. But we're learning that Kol Advarim Hatu'unim Birchas Hamazon also apply in Kiddush. That's what the Alter Rebbe is saying. Well, not everybody agrees that it applies also in Kiddush. The reason I got to here, because some say the remez for Kiddush is simcha. That what applies in Kiddush are 4 things. The 4 things are simcha, shalem, mibachutz, yishtafenu mibachutz, and chai, and hadacha. Those are the 4 basic ones. The simcha, the 4 basic ones that you need, it applies on Kiddush. But the Alter Rebbe lists off more than the 4 basic ones. Rabbi Hecht asked that we should talk about one practical thing. This is also very negeya for Hilchos Pesach, because in Pesach, a lot of people have issues with wines. So I'm going to talk about maybe one or two issues. The cup, the becher that you use, we just mentioned it should be shalim. Shalim also has a concept of being a chashiv becher. Chashiv becher means an honorable, respectable becher. So, what do you use? You use a silver plated, or something like that. What is the classical question? May you use a plastic cup? Could you use a plastic cup? Or a styrofoam cup? What's the pros and what's the cons? What's your name?
Yes, sir.
Yosef. What do you think?
Well, is there a silver cup available?
Is it available?
Yeah.
It's right in front of you.
Okay, so why don't I use the silver one?
Oh, is there a silver one available? No, the question is why should you be able to use this? What's the yes and what's the no? Just why yeah and why no? Huh? So Moshe Feinstein Paskin, Moshe Feinstein Paskin, that since the plastic cups are meant to be used temporary, a one-time usage, so it's lacking ichshivus. And obviously, one of the things that we just mentioned for Kaishel Birchas and Mazin is that it should be honorable. Shalim is a concept of chashivus, right? It's lacking chashivus. However, as you mentioned, if there's no other cup, what should you do? You shouldn't make Kiddush. So, Beles Breda, if you have no other cup, that's the only way he allowed you to use that kind of cup. However, the Satmar Rebbe, Rabbi Yoelish of Satmar said, he brought another raya. He said the very fact that you see that you throw these cups in the garbage, that shows that it's lacking totally in cheshivas. He almost disallowed it completely. So those were the two biggest machmirim. There are those that said that since we see that, especially by Chassidish Farbrengen, we recycle these cups over and over again, so perhaps it's not that bad to use these cups. Now, I'll tell you a trick that people use that doesn't make sense. A trick that people do that doesn't make sense is that they put two cups one into another. That makes no sense. It's similar to a different trick that people do that makes no sense too. To put two cups one into another, if one cup is not chashuv, doubling it doesn't make the same cup more chashuv. It's right. It's similar to another issue that people do. What's the other issue? What is the other issue? When we know that when you're going to learn in Hilchas Pesach, remember it's only in Hilchas Pesach, it says that red wine is more chashuv. Al teira yayin ki sadam. By wine it says it's zechel adam. It's not in Hilchas Shabbos. In Hilchas Pesach, it says red wine is more chashuv. For two reasons. It's more chashuv, al teira yayin ki sadam, and because of zechel adam. So what happens if you don't have red wine? So people pour in red in their white wine for food coloring. Who are you fooling? To pour in red into white wine to make it look red, it's not chashuv because it's still the white wine. You're not doing any. You're not making it more chashuv. Huh? You're not. If you wanted to for the zeichel adam, okay, maybe for the zeichel adam. For the zeichel adam, for the chashivas part, you're not doing it. Now, if you were a true blue chassid, I would maybe say you should do it. Why? Because in Hilchas Shabbos, the Alter Rebbe says, now this is good for the Hecht, I'll tell you why. The Alter Rebbe says, full blown, the Alter Rebbe goes straight out, Ein Tzviya Ba'ichlin. There is no concept of food coloring in food. There is no dyeing food on Shabbos, no problem. There is no issue of dyeing food in Shabbos. There's a problem painting, dyeing clothes, dyeing napkins, yes. But in food, ain't Tzviya B'ichlin. No questions. Anything else, there's Yisur and Rabbanon, there's Yisur and Raisa. Some even question making tea is a problem with the tea bag because the bag becomes yellow. Besides other issues, okay? But the actual Food coloring, no mention. The Alter Rebbe doesn't even ever bring an opinion that says so. The Mishnah Berurah does. The Mishnah Berurah does. The Mishnah Berurah says you should be machmer. You should be machmer. So the Mishnah Berurah does not allow you to mix color with food, to add other colors of wine together. So if you're a true chassid, mixed colored wine. Okay, hold you.